film kicks off inside a train where Colonel Douglas Mortimer, a former military officer dressed like a priest, is quietly reading a Bible. When the ticket inspector comes around, Mortimer casually asks when they'll be arriving in Tucumcari, but adds that the train won't actually stop there. Mortimer, not waiting for permission, stands up, pulls the emergency brake lever, and brings the train to a screeching halt at Tucumcari anyway. Once the train stops, Mortimer steps off and notices a wanted poster for a man named Guy. The reward's too big to ignore, so Mortimer gets to work. He heads to a nearby bar and asks the bartender about Guy's whereabouts. The bartender tries to brush him off, but Mortimer's not having it. A quick threat makes the bartender point him toward the second floor. Mortimer moves fast, charging up the stairs and heading straight to a room where he knows Guy's hiding with a woman. Mortimer slips the wanted poster through the crack in the door. The guy catches on immediately, bolts for the window, and takes off on horseback. Without missing a beat, Mortimer grabs his rifle and fires a shot, a lucky one. It hits Guy square in the shoulder, sending him tumbling off his horse. Frustrated, Guy returns fire, but Mortimer's too quick. He pulls out his pistol and with one clean shot, nails Guy right in the forehead. One bullet, one kill. After taking out Guy, Mortimer heads over to Sheriff Enrique in Tucumcari to claim his $1,000 reward. But as he walks in, his eyes land on a wanted poster of Red Baby Kavanaugh, offering a juicy $2,000 for his capture. Mortimer's curiosity piques, and he asks Enrique about Kavanaugh's last known location. Enrique tells him Kavanaugh was last spotted in White Rocks. He also mentions that Mortimer isn't the first to come asking. A stranger named Manco had come through recently, asking about Kavanaugh too. Cut to White Rocks, where Manco's already in the bar, sizing up Kavanaugh, who's too busy gambling to notice the storm brewing. Manco doesn't waste time. He announces his plan to kill Kavanaugh right there. Red tries to put up a fight, but it's no contest. Manco's skills are way beyond anything Kavanaugh can handle. As Kavanaugh's men rush in, Manco takes them out, one by one, before finally finishing off Kavanaugh himself. With Kavanaugh out of the picture, Manco heads straight to the sheriff's office to claim the $2,000 reward. But instead of just walking away, he takes the opportunity to call out the sheriff for letting a killer like Kavanaugh roam free. He snatches the sheriff's badge off the desk and, with a smirk, suggests it's time for a new sheriff around here. Meanwhile, in a high-security prison, El Indio, a notorious bank robber, calmly serves his time. Outside, his crew is gearing up for a breakout. They kill the guards in cold blood, making sure no one stands in their way. The chaos intensifies when Indio escapes. More guards rush in, but it's easy for him and his crew to take them down. The last guard standing, Indio leaves him alive, knowing he will spread the word about the deadly gang and their ruthless leader. Indio wants everyone to know who's in charge and what happens to anyone who dares cross him. Soon after that, Indio's out for blood, and Tommaso's at the top of his list. The bounty hunter who put him behind bars is going to pay, but not in the way Tommaso expects. Indio doesn't hesitate. He commands his men to kill Tommaso's wife and their 8-month-old baby, ignoring Tommaso's desperate pleas. Family doesn't matter to Indio. He's focused on revenge. A short time later, Indio calls Tommaso to a gun duel, but this time there's a twist. As the haunting tune from his pocket watch plays, Indio doesn't wait for the music to stop. He shoots first. Tommaso drops dead, and Indio walks away, calm as ever. Indio's known for this move. That pocket watch of his isn't just for show. Every time he faces an opponent, he tells them to wait for the music to finish. But he always cheats. He shoots them first. No exceptions. It's a game to him, and he's always in control. After the kill, Indio asks one of his men for a cigarette, but the smoke turns out to be more than just tobacco. It's laced with a drug, making everything feel a little more twisted. Meanwhile, bounty hunters Manco and Mortimer spot a wanted poster for Indio, offering a hefty $10,000 reward. The two see an opportunity, especially since they know Indio and his gang have their sights set on a bank in El Paso. Rumor has it the bank's holding nearly $1 million in a secret vault, and Indio's gang is already making their move. Manco and Mortimer head to town, ready to hunt. In El Paso, the two stake out the bank. Manco watches Indio's men from a bar, keeping his distance. Mortimer isn't playing it cool. He goes straight to Wild isn't happy, but his friends step in to stop him as they have orders to stay low. As the tension builds, Manco and Mortimer lock eyes across the room. In that moment, they both realize they're after the same thing, and neither of them plans to back down. That night, Manco walks straight up to Mortimer. He's got a score to settle, and he's not shy about it. Without wasting a second, Manco shows off his deadly aim, firing with precision. But after a moment, both men step back, nodding in mutual respect. No words, just an understanding. They call it a truce, and before long, they're sharing drinks. The rivalry simmering down. Manco doesn't waste any time. He leans in, his eyes cold, and tells Mortimer that he's after Indio, warning that anyone who stands in his way, including Mortimer, will be killed. Mortimer doesn't back down. Instead, he proposes an unexpected offer, an alliance. He suggests they join forces to take down Indio and his gang. Manco is skeptical, but sees an opportunity and demands the $10,000 reward for Indio. Mortimer agrees, but adds a twist. He'll also claim the reward for Indio's men, all of whom are wanted criminals. That brings the total reward to another $10,000. Manco can't resist. The two shake hands. There's no trust yet, but plenty of motivation. They get down to business. Mortimer outlines the plan. Manco must infiltrate Indio's gang. Mortimer has all the intel and even a loophole Manco can use to get in. Manco doesn't question it. He's on board. Meanwhile, Indio is in a haze, smoking to forget the memories of his past. The drug dulls the pain, but the nightmares persist. That pocket watch he carries, the one with the picture of the young woman, haunts him. She was the wife of a man he killed, a man who had given her the watch before Indio murdered him. Now, Indio smokes to escape, but the memories continue to haunt him. Back with Manco, he's already getting to work. Following Mortimer's lead, he heads to a prison, freeing one of Indio's old pals. Indio's suspicious at first. Who's this guy showing up out of nowhere, acting like he's got the right to free his friend? But Manco plays it cool, and in the end, Indio buys it. He lets Manco into the gang and spills the plan for their next big job. The next day, Indio sends Manco and a few men to rob a bank in Santa Cruz to distract the sheriff. However, on the way, Manco does what he does best and eliminates his own men, leaving a trail of bodies behind. When Manco finally rolls into Santa Cruz, he heads straight to the telegraph office. Without wasting any time, he orders the operator to send a message saying that Indio and his gang just robbed the bank. The operator hesitates, saying he hadn't heard any gunshots to confirm the robbery. But Manco's not taking no for an answer. He forces the guy to send the message. Moments later, the sheriff and his men get the word and immediately head for Santa Cruz. But Manco's not done. He rushes back to El Paso to join Mortimer, ready to stop Indio's next move and cash in on that reward. However, in a twist, Indio doesn't go for the front door. Instead, he and his men tear through the wall of the bank and make off with a vault full of cash after killing a guard. With the plan falling apart, Manco tries to cut ties with Mortimer, but Mortimer talks him into staying in the game. Just when Manco thinks things couldn't get worse, Mortimer shoots him from behind, grazing his neck. It's all part of the plan. Mortimer was protecting his cover and needed Indio to believe that Manco had survived a gunfight in Santa Cruz, where all his men were killed. Mortimer then orders Manco to convince Indio to head north along the Rio Bravo River. It's the perfect spot for an ambush. After some time, Manco rejoins Indio and his gang. They immediately ask about their missing comrades, and Manco quickly spins a story. He tells them that while leaving Santa Cruz, they were ambushed, and everyone was killed except for him. One of Indio's men isn't buying it. He's pissed off that Manco is the only one to come back alive. But Indio, looking at the convincing neck wound Manco got from Mortimer, nods and accepts the story. Then Manco suggests they head south away from Mortimer's plan. But Indio rejects the idea. Instead, he decides they're heading east, straight for a small town called Agua Caliente. The gang rolls into the outskirts of Agua Caliente, and it's clear the locals aren't too fond of outsiders. Before they even get close, Indio tests Manco's loyalty, ordering him to ride into town alone. No hesitation from Manco. He spurs his horse forward, and the townsfolk scatter, hiding inside their homes the second they spot him. At the end of the road, Manco spots 3 cowboys waiting for him. But instead of backing down, he walks right up to them, gun ready. Just as he does, a young boy is struggling to reach an apple hanging from a tree. Without missing a beat, Manco shoots a few apples down for him. Then, out of nowhere, someone else shoots more apples down too. It's Mortimer, the guy who told Manco to head north, but clearly knew Indio would come to this spot anyway. The 3 cowboys, seeing Manco's skill, don't stick around to test their luck. They bolt. Manco and Mortimer stroll into the bar, followed by Indio and his crew. The second they step inside, Wild spots Mortimer and immediately recognizes him as the man from El Paso. Wild, still seething with anger, challenges Mortimer to a gunfight. The tension's thick. Wild counts down, but Mortimer's quicker. From under his sleeve, he fires and Wild's dead before he even knew what hit him. Mortimer and Indio were sitting together, tension thick in the air. Mortimer, always calm and calculating, offered to open the safe without blowing it to bits. But there was a catch. He wanted $5,000 for the job. Indio hesitated, then realized he had no choice. Reluctantly, he agreed. Once the safe was cracked open, everyone expected a payout, but Indio surprised them all. Instead of handing out the loot, he made a bold move. Wait a month. He figured the heat from the bank robbery would die down by then, with the sheriff and his men still hot on their trail. Indio ordered his right-hand man, Nino, to store the cash in a wooden chest, locking it up tight. Only Indio would hold the key. He wasn't taking any chances. That night, as the camp slept, Manco crept into the treasure room, but to his shock, Mortimer was already there. The chest was open, Mortimer had unlocked it, taken the trash, and stuffed it in a bag. With a grin, Mortimer handed the bag to Manco, showing off his skills in locking and unlocking without a key. He resecured the chest, making it look untouched. They slipped out through the roof, but as they climbed down, the surprise hit them. Indio and his men were waiting below. Indio had figured them out. Manco and Mortimer weren't just bandits, they were bounty hunters, after the reward on his head. But just before Manco jumped down, he noticed the trap. With no choice, he tossed the bag of money into a tree, hoping it would disappear. When they hit the ground, Indio and his crew were all over them, beating them senseless. But when Indio checked the chest and saw it still locked, doubt crept in. Maybe Manco and Mortimer weren't the thieves after all. But even then, Indio wasn't taking any risks. He decided to imprison them in a hidden place where they couldn't escape. Indio had a plan and Nino was ready to carry it out. Without anyone noticing, Nino swiped a knife from one of the gang members, Cuchillo. With a quick strike, he silenced the guard watching over Manco and Mortimer. Freeing the two bounty hunters, Nino led Cuchillo to where Indio was waiting, his pocket watch gleaming in the moonlight. Cuchillo tried to talk his way out of it, claiming he wasn't the one who betrayed the gang or helped the prisoners escape. But it was too late. Indio gave the signal, and Nino ended Cuchillo's life, just like that. Indio quickly spun the story to the rest of the gang, telling them Cuchillo had sold them out, helping Manco and Mortimer break free. The bounty hunters had to be stopped, alive or dead. Indio gave the order to chase them down. But here's the kicker. Indio didn't just want to kill the bounty hunters. He had a bigger plan. He was going to use Manco and Mortimer to take out his own gang, then take all the stolen loot for himself and Nino. But not everyone was as dumb as the others. Groggy, one of the gang members, started putting the pieces together. He figured out what Indio was really up to. The next morning, Groggy wasn't taking any chances. He took Nino down, cold. Then, with Nino's blood on his hands, Groggy pointed a gun at Indio and demanded he open the chest full of stolen cash. But when Indio opened it, the chest was empty. Furious, Groggy tore the place apart, his anger echoing in every room. Indio, not missing a beat, tried to talk his way out of it, convincing Groggy to work with him. Together, they trapped the bounty hunters and get the money back. Meanwhile, Manco and Mortimer were waiting. Guns in hand, they stood ready in the streets, fully expecting an attack. And when the gang members came, the bounty hunters picked them off one by one with deadly precision, their extraordinary marksmanship taking down everyone who dared to cross their path. Elsewhere, Indio sat there, lost in thought, the image of the young woman who owned the pocket watch still fresh in his mind. But his moment of reflection was abruptly cut off when Mortimer, standing just outside, suddenly spoke up, revealing his true name to Indio. Before Indio could react, the sound of a shot rang out. Mortimer had spotted Groggy trying to make a run for it and wasted no time firing. But just as Mortimer shot, Indio appeared at the window, gun in hand, and fired a split second later, sending Mortimer's gun flying from his hand. Without missing a beat, Indio pulled out the pocket watch, and as the soft, haunting tune began to play, the tension in the air grew thick. As the music reached its final notes, a surprising twist. Manco appeared holding his own identical pocket watch, the same melody spilling from his. Mortimer's eyes widened. He knew immediately that Manco had taken the watch from him. With a calm resolve, Manco aimed his rifle at Indio, then handed Mortimer his gun belt and pistol before taking a seat, letting the two men face off. The silence was deafening as Manco gazed at the pocket watch and the photo of the woman inside it. The music from the watch grew softer, nearing its end. Suddenly, Mortimer's hand twitched. He pulled the trigger, and the shot rang out, hitting Indio squarely. Indio staggered, struggling to rise, but the wound was too much. He collapsed, lifeless. As Mortimer approached, he took the pocket watch from Indio's hand, but Manco wasn't finished. He returned the watch he'd taken earlier and looked Mortimer over with a knowing glance. "Family resemblance," he remarked quietly. Mortimer nodded, the weight of it all settling in. "She was my sister," he said, his voice low but steady. Having avenged the past, Mortimer turned away. He didn't want any of the reward money and gave it all to Manco. Gathering his weapons, he walked off, leaving the tension of the moment behind him. After Manco tossed the last of Indio and his gang into the cart, he started counting the reward money. Something didn't add up. The total should have been $27,000, but it was off. That's when he heard a rustle behind him. Groggy, still clinging to life and planning to ambush him, was making his move. Without hesitation, Manco spun around and took him down in an instant. Then Manco walked over to the tree, grabbed the bag of money, and gave it a thoughtful glance. Was he thinking of returning it? Who knew? As Manco rode off, his horse pulling the cart filled with the bodies of the entire gang, one thing was clear. In the end, crime doesn't pay. The wicked always end up tearing each other apart. So the moral of the story is greed and betrayal might get you far, but in the end, it always comes back to bite.